When my dad was sick, I took care of him every day. Changed his dressings, fed him, bathed him. My sister visited twice in 7 months. After he passed, I found out she changed the will behind my back. He told me you couldn't handle money, she said at the reading, smiling. Besides, you're just the caretaker. I walked out of that room numb. 3 days later, I found a voice memo on his old phone. I'm 38. My name's Mark. I live in Joliet, Illinois. I worked as a mechanic for most of my adult life. Nothing fancy, but I always paid my bills, stayed out of trouble, and did right by the people who raised me. My dad was one of the good ones. He wasn't loud, never tried to control us, and he didn't ask for much. After Mom left when I was 6, he raised me and my older sister, Laura, by himself. She was 10 when Mom walked out. She used to cry in her room at night. I remember standing by the door, listening, not knowing what to do. We were close when we were kids. Laura helped me with homework, made me grilled cheese, even lied to Dad once when I scratched up his car. But something changed after she went to college. She started looking down on the way we lived, called the house cramped, and said Dad was stuck in the past. She got a degree, moved to a nicer suburb, started working as a nurse. She didn't come around much after that. Then, last year, Dad got sick. He hadn't been feeling great, but we thought it was just age catching up. He was 74. Still drove. Still did yard work. But then he started losing weight fast. Turned out it was colon cancer. Stage 4. Doctor said 6 months if we were lucky. So I quit my job. Didn't even think about it. I packed my stuff and moved back in with him. I was there every single day. Feeding him, cleaning him, bathing him. I wiped his ass when he couldn't walk. I changed his bed sheets 3 times a night when the pain got so bad he couldn't hold anything in. I learned how to manage his meds, made charts, memorized his schedule, and handled the hospice visits. It was hell watching him fade. But I was proud to do it. Laura? She came by twice. Once for 20 minutes in September, and then again in late December. She brought store-bought cookies, posted a photo of her holding his hand with the caption, "Cherishing these moments," then left before the nurse even showed up. She never offered to help. Not once. Dad died on a Monday morning, just before sunrise. I was with him. He squeezed my hand and tried to speak, but the words didn't come. I just held him. I told him it was okay. I told him I'd be alright. I don't remember much after that. I know I sat there for hours, just listening to the silence. The funeral was small. Simple. That's what Dad wanted. I paid for most of it. Laura gave a fake speech about how strong he was and how family was everything. I wanted to punch something. 3 days later, we met at a law office in downtown Joliet to read the will. That's when my world flipped upside down. The lawyer, a guy I'd never met, read it out loud. Said Dad left everything to Laura? The house. The truck. The savings. The retirement account. Even his personal belongings. Nothing for me. Not even $1. The lawyer read a statement supposedly written by Dad. I love my son, but he's not financially responsible. Laura is better equipped to handle the estate. He will be taken care of. It felt like I got kicked in the chest. I couldn't breathe. Laura looked over at me and smiled. She actually smiled. Then she said in this smug voice, "He told me you couldn't handle money. Besides, you're just the caretaker." Just the caretaker. I walked out. I didn't say a word. I couldn't feel my hands. I drove home and sat in the driveway for an hour, staring at the steering wheel. That night, I drank more than I should have. I didn't cry right away. I just sat on the couch, replaying every memory I had of those last few months. Every time I helped him sit up. Every night I changed his dressings. Every time he whispered, "Thank you," when I thought he was asleep. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. Dad didn't care about money. He never once called me irresponsible. If I was late on a bill, he'd help. He trusted me with everything, his meds, his appointments, even his funeral plans. Why would he cut me out like that? 3 days after the will reading, I was going through some of his things. Cleaning out drawers, organizing his meds, trying to feel like I still had a purpose. That's when I found his old phone in a shoebox under the bed. It hadn't been used in a while. He got a newer one right before he got real sick. But this one still had some charge. I turned it on. There were pictures of us. Texts from me. Notes about medications. And a folder labeled Voice Memos. There were 4 files. I clicked on the last one. It was dated 3 weeks before he died. I sat down on the floor and hit play. His voice was weak but clear. If you're hearing this, I'm probably gone. I don't know what Laura told you, but I need you to know the truth. I asked Frank, my old lawyer, to split everything between you and your sister. I even said if you stayed here, the house should go to you. I don't trust her. She's been acting strange. Asking about papers. Pressuring me when I'm on meds. If she changes anything after I get too sick to fight it, that's not my will. I sat there frozen. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. The will I heard at the office wasn't the one he wanted. Laura had changed it. She used some shady lawyer who wasn't even Dad's usual guy. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't let it slide. I called my friend Chris the next morning. He used to be a paralegal and married a lawyer. I told him what I found. He told me to get that recording to an estate lawyer fast. I drove to Chicago that day and paid out of pocket for a consult. Turns out, everything about that will was off. The lawyer, Mercer, wasn't licensed in Joliet until a few months ago. His office address led to a P.O. box. And Dad's original attorney? A man named Frank Greer, who'd done his legal stuff for 20 years. He had no idea anything had changed. Frank still had a digital copy of the will Dad signed a few months before things got bad. It split everything between me and Laura. And it included a clause giving me the house if I stayed to care for him. The signature on the will Mercer presented? Didn't match. Not even close. I took both wills to my lawyer. His name was Aaron. Young guy, sharp, no nonsense. He looked over the documents and the voice memo and said, "Mark, this isn't just shady. This is criminal." He sent the will to a handwriting expert. While we waited for the report, he dug deeper into Mercer's background. Turns out Mercer wasn't just new, he was in trouble. 2 past complaints for unethical behavior, one involving a different elderly client. Both cases were quietly dropped, but they were there. Aaron also filed an emergency petition to freeze the estate before Laura could sell the house or touch the bank accounts. She'd already listed the F-150 for sale online. I saw the ad myself. She even said, "Gently used, belonged to my late father, looking for serious buyers only." Like it was a piece of junk. Like he hadn't driven it since I was a teenager. I wanted to rip the ad down myself. A week later, we got the forensic results. The signature on Mercer's will? Forged. Not a match. Not even a good one. They could see where it was traced, pressure points, uneven strokes. Dad's original signature was smooth and natural. The fake one looked stiff, copied. That's when we filed the fraud suit. It hit Laura like a truck. She showed up at my door 2 days later. She had the nerve to act surprised. "What are you doing?" she said. "We're family." I just stood there. "You went behind his back," I said. "You stole from me. You stole from him." She laughed. Laughed. "He didn't know what he was doing," she said. "He was weak. He couldn't make those decisions anymore." "Then why did he leave a voice memo saying he didn't trust you?" She froze. Her face turned pale. "You're lying." "No. I'm not." She looked scared. "I like that." She backed off, but it wasn't over. A few days later, I started getting strange messages. From blocked numbers. Things like, "Drop the case or you'll regret it." And, "You're just bitter because Dad chose me." I knew it was her. I couldn't prove it, but who else would it be? Aaron told me to document everything. We filed a protection order. The judge granted it after we presented the texts, the forged signature report, and the voice memo. He froze the estate. Laura couldn't touch a dime. Then things got even uglier. We found out Laura had been using Dad's credit cards after he died. Thousands in purchases. Not just small stuff either, jewelry, spa treatments, new furniture. She'd also drained a joint account she opened in his name a few weeks before he passed. She claimed it was for medical expenses, but we found statements showing cash withdrawals and transfers to her personal checking account. I couldn't believe it. She was looting his memory. Stealing from the man who gave her everything. Stealing from me. From our childhood home. From the place where he died. I felt sick. I felt rage. But Aaron said, "Let her keep digging. It's going to help us." And he was right. We subpoenaed Mercer's communications. Emails between him and Laura showed her sending him drafts, asking how to rush the process. Even asking if it was okay to sign. On behalf of her father due to illness. Mercer never met Dad. Not once. Everything was through her. Then we found something that changed everything. Dad's original will, the one Frank kept on file, had a unique clause. One I didn't remember. It said, If either beneficiary is found to manipulate, alter, or exploit this document or the person it represents, they forfeit their share entirely. I read it 5 times. Then I laughed. For the first time since Dad died, I really laughed. Dad knew. Somewhere deep down, he knew Laura was capable of this. He tried to protect us both. Me from her, and her from herself. And now it was in writing. Aaron looked at me and said, "If we win this, she doesn't just lose her half. She gets nothing." I nodded. I wasn't backing down. The hearing was set. It was time to take her down. Right before the hearing, Aaron got a call from the probate investigator. Someone had come forward, someone who used to work with Laura. A woman named Maggie. She used to be a home health nurse, like Laura. Said they worked together years ago at a hospice facility in Will County. Maggie said Laura bragged once during a night shift about how easy it was to get signatures from dying patients. She said Laura joked about having a fallback plan. If nursing didn't work out, something about knowing how to handle paperwork the right way. Maggie hadn't thought much of it back then. Thought it was a dark joke. But she heard Laura's name again in the fraud complaint and came forward. Aaron immediately added her to the witness list. The day of the hearing, the courthouse was packed. Laura walked in wearing a gray suit like she was running for mayor. No emotion. No shame. Just that same cold smirk she had at the will reading. I didn't look at her. When the judge asked if I had anything to present before testimony began, I handed over a USB with Dad's voice memo. Everyone in the courtroom listened as his voice came through the speakers, weak, tired, but clear. "If she changes anything after I get too sick to fight it, that's not my will." Laura's face went pale. Then came the documents. Dad's real will, the forged one, and the forensic analysis showing the signature was traced. Mercer didn't show up. His license had already been suspended. Coward. Aaron stood up and laid it all out. The forged will. The fake medical expense charges. The joint account. The credit card purchases after death. Then Maggie took the stand and repeated everything she remembered from that night shift years ago. But the twist that blew it all open. It came from Dad's old lawyer, Frank. When he took the stand, he brought something I didn't even know existed. A second voice memo. He said Dad called him 2 days before he passed and asked to record something. Just in case. Frank said he never released it because he assumed everything went smoothly. Until now. The judge allowed it to be played. "This is Ernest Markham. I'm of sound mind. I am aware of what I signed with Frank Greer, and I do not want any changes made. If Laura tries to push something else through, she's lying. Give the house to Mark. He earned it." The courtroom was silent. Laura looked like she was going to vomit. The judge leaned forward and said, "Ms. Markham, do you have anything to say?" She stood up and started crying. Real tears this time. Or maybe just panic. "I was trying to protect the estate," she said. "Mark doesn't know how to manage money. He was living off our father. He would have wasted everything." The judge didn't buy it. No one did. Then Aaron dropped one last bomb. While we were building the case, he'd quietly contacted the licensing board for nurses in Illinois. They had launched their own investigation based on our documents. Laura had lied on several medical forms, falsified patient records in Dad's file, and forged at least one medication authorization from his doctor. She hadn't just broken estate laws, she'd broken criminal ones. The licensing board had suspended her RN license that morning. She didn't know yet. Aaron handed her the letter. She opened it with shaking hands and read it right there in court. Her eyes went wide. Her knees gave out, and she sat back down like someone had unplugged her spine. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just sat there and watched the walls close in on her. The judge didn't waste time. He declared the will Laura submitted as fraudulent. The original will, the one Dad signed with Frank, was reinstated as the valid document. The house went to me. The assets were split 50-50. Until the fraud clause kicked in. Because she manipulated Dad and forged legal papers, Laura triggered the forfeiture clause in Dad's will. That meant she got nothing. Not a single cent. The judge ordered her to repay everything she took: credit card fraud, forged checks, illegal transfers. She owed over $43,000 in restitution, plus penalties and legal fees. She tried to speak. She said, "Please, I didn't mean." The judge cut her off. "You stole from your dying father and tried to erase your brother from his own life. I have no sympathy for you." But the court wasn't the end. A month later, the nursing board made their final ruling. Her license was revoked. Permanent. No appeals. She'd worked in healthcare for 12 years. Gone overnight. No other state would take her. Her name was blacklisted in national nurse databases. She tried to get a job at a clinic upstate using a fake name. Got caught. Charged with attempted identity fraud. 2 months after the hearing, I found out she moved into a motel outside Peoria. She had no job, no house, no savings. She sold her car. Her credit was wrecked. The courts put a lien on her future earnings until she repaid every penny she stole. She started a GoFundMe. It got $130. Comments were brutal. One guy wrote, "Stealing from your dying father? You belong in a cage." She deleted the page 2 days later. Me? I stayed in the house. Fixed it up slowly. I didn't rush. I painted the walls, cleaned out the garage, even rebuilt the front porch, just like Dad always wanted. I kept his recliner in the living room and his toolbox in the shed, exactly where he left it. I also left his voice memo saved on my phone. I listened to it every now and then. Not because I needed proof, but because it reminded me he trusted me. He knew who I was. There were nights I felt guilty, even after all that. Guilty that I didn't see through her sooner. Guilty that I didn't stop her earlier. I told myself I could have done more. But then I'd walk through the house and see his old flannel hanging by the door. Or I'd make coffee and remember how he used to hum old country songs in the morning. He knew I was there for him. He knew who stayed and who didn't. That was enough. One morning, I got a letter from Mercer, the shady lawyer. He sent it from jail. He was facing federal charges for fraud and conspiracy. The letter was full of excuses. "Laura pressured me," he wrote. "She promised me it was what your father wanted." I tore it in half and threw it in the trash. Laura didn't speak to me again. I didn't care. 6 months later, I heard she was working under the table as a night janitor at a warehouse in Springfield. No benefits. No future. Some people say karma takes time. Not always. Sometimes it comes fast, like a freight train. Sometimes it shows up in the courtroom, or in a motel with mold on the walls, or in the moment when you open a letter and realize your whole career is gone. As for me, I got a new job, not full-time, but steady. Local repair shop. Good people. I spend my evenings on the porch. I talk to Dad sometimes. I tell him how the tomatoes are doing, or how the lawnmower is acting up again. And sometimes, I just sit there and smile. Because in the end, she tried to erase me. But I'm still here. And she lost everything trying to win a game she never understood. Dad wasn't rich. But he left me something she'll never get back. Peace. Dignity. And the truth.